Hello and welcome back to the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Dani Vittori, and today we welcome on Juan Rodriguez, a real estate agent from the city of Lynn. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you, Dani. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Like she mentioned, I'm Juan Rodriguez. I'm a realtor from Lynn. I have about 6 years in the industry. Born and raised here. My team and I, we did 120 deals last year, so we have a ton of experience, ton of knowledge, and a ton of insightful things to get to today. So I'm excited, and I appreciate you for having me.
There's a lot of seminars, you're here to talk about yours specifically, and why would you say yours is, like, what separates yours from others?
Well, I definitely recommend attending seminars in general. You always learn stuff, get prepared, learn tips and tricks, which is always good ahead of time. One of the biggest reasons I started hosting my own seminars was I have a whole entire team dedicated to my clients from steps A through Z. Long story short, whether it's like a home inspector, home insurance agent, lawyer, or lender for financing, I have all those people set up at their own place in the process.
Okay.
And I orchestrate it all. So when you attend my seminars, not only do you learn the tips and tricks on how to save money, the exact things to do, you also get the guidance from 30-year veterans in the field. Live time, you can ask questions. There's Q&As at the end, so it's not just me. I have professionals at each step of the way, and they're literally there showing you guys what we do and what makes the buying process kind of streamlined with us. So that's why I recommend people definitely attend my seminars.
And you mentioned some of the steps A to Z. Would you be able to go into a little more detail? You mentioned them like budget, inspection, the different elements of it.
Yeah. All right, well, briefly, there's about 5 to 6 major steps. And like I mentioned, the first step would be communicating with me, telling me what you want in the house, kind of what your plans are, what your goals are.
Yeah.
That way I can set up a timeline that fits your needs. You talk to me, and the first step would be to figuring out your budget. A lot of the times there's homes that people like, but the monthly budget is what we should be looking at. Because you could love the most expensive car, but it doesn't necessarily mean you want to pay for the most expensive car.
Right.
So to figure that out, we want to speak to a lender, which I have on my team. I've done a ton of deals with him, a lot of first-time home buyers. He knows exactly what he's doing. With him, you will figure out what you're looking to spend monthly. And based on what you want to spend monthly, let's just say example is $3,500. We'll know we need to shop in a range from $450,000 to $500,000 to get that monthly budget. We'll also know how much you need for a down payment based on that, and we'll also know how much money you need for closing costs, which is expenses that it takes to close a deal other than your down payment. With that being said, just for that bit, I have your lender there ready. As soon as you're done with him, it's easy, it's free actually, so there's nothing to worry about. We move on to find the property you like, which I have a lot of off-market inventory. I work with the #1 brokerage in the country, which is Compass. We have the most off-market opportunities in the North Shore, especially me and my team. We have a lot of opportunities for buyers. So I'll present those along with whatever's on the market. I make an offer, that gets accepted. I have a home inspector for you. You don't have to worry about hidden damage. You don't have to be afraid of, I don't know if I should pull the trigger. I don't know if there's anything, excuse me, wrong with this home.
Yeah.
I have a 30-year veteran who checks homes inside out. Goes from there to an attorney, from there to an appraisal, from there to a home insurance agent. And I could go on and on, but each step of the way, there are major thoughts, whether it's from hidden damages on a property to buying a house that somebody owes a whole bunch of money on, which is what the lawyer's gonna make sure you don't do.
Right.
And yeah, I go on and on, but each step of the way, each important step, there's a professional waiting for you, and I orchestrate it all, so we never lose track and we know exactly where we are.
Yeah, and you can tell you're very knowledgeable about it as well. And I know, and from your perspective as a real estate agent, why is it so important to find one that you communicate well with and you really work well with? That relationship between real estate and buyer really is important.
Yeah. I feel like relationship is #1 because you definitely don't want to be with an agent who's just, hey, sign here, sign here, sign here, on to the next. It's a very stressful process for the buyer, which if you work with the right agent, they'll know how to talk to you, they know how to communicate with you, they know what points to hit without you even having to tell them. So having a relationship with somebody you trust, and you're also in a kind of business relationship as well.
Right.
But being able to find common ground, knowing how to laugh with your clients and just kind of make the best out of it, I think having a personal relationship with your agent is going to be super important to not only make the buying process less stressful, but also make it a fun one as well.
Yeah, get people more excited about it, because it is a big deal getting home.
Yeah, yeah. Some people are just like, okay, sign here, sign here, sign here. They work part-time. It's like they're not really with you. They're just, okay, they leave a meeting and call you. And there's some people who like literally wake up and it's like, all right, today's inspection day. I got this really cool home inspector. Like he's going to tell you exactly what it is. But he's also super funny and serious at the same time. So be at ease. There's nothing to worry about. Like you're protected. And yeah, buying a house could seem like a boring process, or it could seem like a very fun process you're excited for.
Yeah, definitely. And what would you say, like how, if you're, off looking at the market, how often would buyers themselves be looking, checking homes? Does that fall more to the real estate agent and more sending the buyers potential options? How does that work?
Yeah, so with my company, Compass, we actually have our own app, and I set my clients up on a custom search where, like I mentioned earlier, has a lot of off-market inventory that's just unique for agents inside the company, which is a unique kind of value add, but also everything that's on the market, which updates every second of the day with new homes that match your criteria and homes that just match your budget, only curated for you. So as far as how often they should be looking at homes, I mean, I feel like it depends. If you're looking to buy a year from now, I mean, there's really no reason to be checking every day. But when my clients are active, I send them properties every Thursday and Friday, because those are when the new homes for the week come on the market. So even if they're busy working, you can feel confident that I'm going to send you what fits your criteria. You know, if you tell me looking for a 3-bed, 1-bath home, but you work 60 hours a week, on Fridays I'll send you the houses that I think you'll like, at least 3 to 5 of them. That way, heading into the weekend, if you didn't get a chance to look at them, you already have an email with the homes that I recommend you look at. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great to think about it. And you were also talking about, I'll move on a little bit to inspection. You're mentioning maybe potential hidden problems. What are some of the most common things you'd say, even if you're just going through a house yourself, what would you look for?
One of the most common things to look for, and what I would suggest my clients look for, is really just the age of the major systems, whether it's the roof, your water heater, if it's oil, like what's the condition of the oil tank, things like that. If it's central AC, the condenser outside. Those are things that a lot of times the sellers will already put kind of in their bio, but if they don't, they may be old, so there's really no reason to add that, because who wants to know these systems are old?
Right, yeah.
So I would always ask the seller's agent or the homeowner, hey, what are the age of these major systems, if they're not readily available? So that's something a buyer could look at. If they're not too skilled in, zooming in on water heaters and water tanks to figure out the age, that's what a home inspector is for. And not only will he look at the major heating systems, he'll look at windows, your shingles outside, your foundation, electrical, plumbing. So it goes a lot into detail, but long story short, water heater, age of the roof, and your heating and cooling systems. That's what I would suggest trying to get a gist of as soon as you get into a house.
Oh, nice. That's good. Very good, obvious things for people to look for. And then one last question I will have is, say, put in an offer, gets accepted. How does the negotiation process work to get to that point, to get to the final price, get to the close?
Okay, so the negotiation process is in 2 places. Excuse me. The negotiating process is in 2 places. When you're making the offer, you want to make sure you have the best terms possible. So for example, you're a buyer and there's a seller. As far as negotiating, you kind of want to pre-negotiate prior. So if you know the seller wants to close in 60 days or 21 days, you obviously want to position yourself to be in the best negotiating place possible. Yeah. If they want to close in 21 days and that's something you're flexible with because you're a month-to-month lease, then you can close in 21 days and negotiate yourself in the best position prior, as long as it fits what you want to do. The second part of that is if there's a home inspection and there are hidden damages, the home inspector will give us a report, and me and my client will review it. We'll go over it, and if there's anything that's pressing, deal-breaking, there's definitely space to negotiate, because the last thing the seller wants to do is go back to the market, host open houses again, and go through the whole entire process again. While at the same time, we also want to make sure our clients buy a home that's not crumbling, and they don't go in with a $20,000 bill right away.
Right.
So when that time comes, that's when the negotiations will start. But in reality, that doesn't really happen too often. Water heaters, roofs, all these systems are meant to be used. Homes are meant to be kept up with.
Yeah.
So you will run into situations where things are older, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to get replaced right away, or you have to break a whole entire deal for it.
Yeah.
Like if you buy a car and the engine is 4 years old, it's like, it's old, but it's not 30 years old either.
Yeah.
So there's a middle ground, and every situation is different. Every price point is different. So it really depends. It's very intricate. But if there are negotiations, it's either before you submit an offer to win the offer, or when you have a home inspection, and if there's any damages, you want to negotiate for.
Great.
Yeah.
So you definitely went into a lot of detail about it, which is very helpful for me and so many people watching. But I do have to wrap up in a moment, but was there anything else? I feel like we went through the whole process, but was there anything else you wanted to mention?
A couple of things I would like to mention for anyone who's looking to buy a house within the next 6 to 12 months. The last thing you want to do is wait a month before your lease ends. Buying a house takes at least 1 to 2 months. So the last thing you want to do is be forced to sign a new 12-month lease, be rushed into buying a property just because you want to buy one.
Right.
You want to start the buying process 3 to 4 months prior. And that doesn't mean you have to go out tomorrow and write an offer.
Yeah.
It just means having a simple conversation with me. Let's figure out your budget. Let's make sure you have the cash on hand to close on a property. Let's figure out the areas you can afford. Maybe you can start looking in the area to see where you want to move. You don't just want to wait, my lease ends in 31 days. Let me contact Juan. Like, you definitely want to be proactive. And if you have time, be proactive. Because if you're not proactive, within that time, you'll just be in a rush. So it's kind of a double-edged sword having time. But my biggest tip is just be proactive, reach out sooner than later, and make sure you're on the right path and prepared.
Great. Perfect.
Yep.
So I couldn't have said that any better myself, but I want to thank you again so much for coming on to really share some of your knowledge about the home buying process.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you having me on today.
Of course, anytime. And once again, I'm Dani Vittori. This has been the Lynn Lowdown, and we'll see you next week with more guests.